There comes a point in every person's life when they've got to draw a line in the sand and say, enough is enough. You've been playing small, waiting for perfect timing, letting fear talk louder than your faith, and 2026 is not the year for that. This is the year where you rise, grind, and win like never before. See, the moment you really decide that you will not stop until you win, everything around you starts to shift. The universe starts rearranging opportunities, people, and resources in your favor, because a made-up mind is the most powerful force on earth after God himself. Let me tell you something. Winning isn't accidental. You don't stumble into greatness. You commit to it. You build it. You become it. Most people want the crown, but they don't want the cross. They want the reward, but they don't want the resistance. But what they don't realize is that resistance is the very thing that builds you into the kind of person who can handle the reward. So if you're going through pain, if you're going through struggle, if you're climbing uphill, don't you dare quit. Because that pressure is not meant to break you, it's meant to build you. Diamonds don't shine without pressure, and gold doesn't glow without fire. Everything begins with a decision. Not a casual choice, not a half-hearted wish, but a decision so strong that it burns every bridge back to your old self. You see, most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they keep leaving the back door open. They say, I'll try. They say, if it doesn't work, I'll stop. That kind of language is poison to purpose. The moment you give yourself another option, you've already planted the seed of failure. But when you say, I will not stop until I win, that declaration activates something powerful in you. It ignites faith, it awakens your hunger, and it tells every cell in your body to align with victory. The world respects people who have made up their minds because a made-up mind moves with authority, and authority attracts results. When you truly decide, everything changes. The atmosphere around you begins to rearrange itself to match your conviction. Opportunities you couldn't see before suddenly come into focus. People who doubted you start to watch you. Even your own fears begin to shrink, not because they disappeared, but because your vision became louder than your doubt. The decision to win shifts you from hoping to expecting. And that expectation changes the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you show up. You stop asking for permission and start operating from purpose. The truth is, indecision is one of the greatest dream killers of all time. People spend years waiting for the right time when the right time has always been now. You don't need more signs. You need more certainty. There's something magnetic about a person who has made a clear decision. You can feel their energy when they enter a room. They're not desperate, they're determined. They're not seeking approval, they're seeking results. That's because when you've made a decision to win, you no longer chase validation. You chase progress. You stop talking about your goals and start walking in them. The decision creates a shift from intention to execution. Every action, every plan, every prayer begins to move in one direction forward. And that's what separates those who dream from those who do. Winners don't wait to feel ready. They decide, and their decision makes them ready. Let's get real for a moment. 2026 is coming whether you're ready or not. The question is not whether time will pass. The question is, what will you do with it? You can spend another year hesitating, doubting, second-guessing, or you can draw a line in the sand today and say, this is my year. I will not stop until I win. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. That's you finally stepping into the identity of the person you were created to be. Because winning isn't about luck. It's about leadership, self-leadership. And leadership begins with decision. A made-up mind has more power than a million wishes. Every time you make a strong decision, something inside you grows. You develop confidence not by talking about it, but by committing to something and following through. You start to see that your word has weight. When you say, I will, and then you actually do, your subconscious begins to trust you. That's how you build unstoppable belief, through integrity with yourself. Because when your word becomes law to you, nothing can shake you. You stop needing external motivation because your decision becomes your fuel. You wake up driven, you go to bed fulfilled, and every challenge becomes proof that you're still in the game. So make that decision today. Don't whisper it, declare it. Tell yourself, tell your fears, tell your future, I will not stop until I win in 2026. Let that statement echo in your heart until it drowns out every voice of doubt. Because once you've made up your mind, the fight is already halfway won. The universe doesn't move for the hesitant. It moves for the decided. And when you decide, truly decide, every limitation begins to bow to your determination. That's the power of an unshakable decision. That's where transformation begins. And the moment you decide everything, absolutely everything, starts to shift in your favor. Pressure is not your enemy. It is the birthplace of greatness. Every person who has ever achieved anything extraordinary has faced moments where the weight felt unbearable, where the walls felt like they were closing in, and where quitting looked like the easiest option. But here's the truth. Pressure doesn't come to destroy you, it comes to define you. The moment you start seeing pressure not as punishment, but as preparation, everything in your life begins to change. Diamonds don't shine because they're beautiful. They shine because they've been pressed, crushed, and refined. You're not under pressure because you're weak. You're under pressure because something valuable inside you is being formed. When life turns up the heat, most people panic. They complain about the fire instead of recognizing that the fire is refining them. But champions understand that pressure is the tool of transformation. It forces you to grow, to think differently, to become sharper. Without pressure, you stay comfortable, and comfort is the silent killer of dreams. Every great innovator, every powerful leader, every unstoppable entrepreneur had to face a season of intense pressure, where everything seemed uncertain, where every step felt heavy. But that's the exact moment when power is born, because pressure builds endurance, and endurance produces excellence. You've got to understand that the resistance you're facing right now is proof that you're moving in the right direction. The greater the calling, the greater the crushing. When you pray for growth, you're also asking for situations that stretch you. And when those situations show up, don't run, rise. Because you can't pray for elevation and then complain about the weight that comes with climbing. Every struggle you overcome is strengthening the foundation of your success. The pain you feel now is just the price for the power you'll carry later. You've got to stop saying, why is this happening to me? And start saying, this is happening for me, because perspective determines endurance. Think about it. The strongest muscles in your body only grow when they're put under resistance. The same principle applies to your life, your character, and your mindset. Without resistance, you'll never discover your true capacity. Pressure exposes who you really are. It reveals your level of faith, your level of discipline, and your level of hunger. And here's the hook. Pressure doesn't break people. It reveals the ones who were never all in. When you're truly committed, pressure becomes fuel. It pushes you past your limits, beyond your comfort, and into the zone of unshakable confidence. So when 2026 comes knocking, don't run from the weight. Embrace it. Because the heavier the pressure, the stronger the version of you that's emerging. You're being molded into the kind of person who can handle the very thing you've been praying for. Most people want the blessing, but they can't handle the burden that comes with it. Pressure is God's way of preparing you for what you asked for. It's not there to hold you back. It's there to hold you up. Every sleepless night, every rejection, every silent struggle is carving strength into your soul. You're not breaking down, you're breaking through. There's a reason why rockets face the greatest resistance right before they break through the atmosphere. It's the same with you. The closer you get to your breakthrough, the more pressure you'll feel. But that's not a sign to stop. That's a sign to push harder. Because what's waiting on the other side of pressure is power, purpose, and proof that you were built for more. You've got to keep reminding yourself that you're not here to be comfortable. You're here to be complete. And completion requires compression. So the next time you feel that pressure closing in, take a deep breath and remember this, you are in the refining process. You are being prepared for something that comfort could never produce. Let pressure become your partner, not your prison. Because once you learn to turn pressure into power, there's nothing on this planet that can stop you. Every ounce of pressure is a setup for your explosion into greatness. The question isn't whether pressure will come, it's whether you'll rise with it or retreat from it. And champions, real champions, use pressure as the wind beneath their wings. Discipline is the quiet force that builds empires when motivation fades away. Motivation is like a spark. It burns bright, but it doesn't last. Discipline, though, is the fire that never goes out. It's what keeps you moving when the excitement is gone, when the applause stops, and when nobody's watching. The truth is, everyone feels motivated when the vision is fresh, when the goal looks exciting, and when the road seems clear. But it's not those moments that separate the winners from the wanderers. It's what you do when the feeling fades that determines your destiny. If you only move when you feel like it, you'll never make it. The people who win in life are not driven by emotion, they're driven by decision. They've decided that their future is non-negotiable. There will be days when the alarm goes off and your body says, not today. There will be days when your mind whispers, you've done enough. But that's when discipline speaks louder. Discipline says, get up anyway. Discipline says, stay consistent even when it's inconvenient. Discipline says, your future deserves your focus. The truth is, your emotions can't be trusted. They fluctuate. But discipline is loyal. It will carry you through the storm, through the doubt, through the dry seasons where results aren't visible yet. Because success doesn't show up all at once. It grows quietly through consistency. You can't cheat repetition. You can't rush mastery. Every day you show up, you're planting seeds that will eventually bear fruit. And the ones who stay committed long enough to see the harvest are the ones who understand that discipline is the difference between average and extraordinary. Think about a sculptor shaping a masterpiece. It's not one strike of the hammer that creates art. It's the thousands of precise, disciplined strikes over time. That's what your life is, a masterpiece being carved by daily discipline. The problem is, most people quit halfway through the process because they mistake the silence of progress for the absence of results. Just because you can't see it yet doesn't mean it's not working. The universe rewards those who persist with precision. Every day you do what others won't You're building a life others can't. That's the hook. Discipline makes the impossible look inevitable. It turns average people into achievers and dreamers into dominators. You can't talk discipline into your life. You have to train it. It's a muscle that grows through repetition. You start small, one promise to yourself, one task completed, one goal pursued with focus. And over time, those small acts compound into unstoppable momentum. Discipline creates trust, not just with others, but with yourself. When you say you'll do something and you actually do it, you reinforce your belief that you're capable, that you're reliable, that you're powerful. That's how you build confidence from the inside out, not by waiting for motivation, but by mastering discipline. The moment your word becomes law to you, your potential becomes limitless. There will always be distractions. There will always be comfort calling your name. But the disciplined mind doesn't answer to comfort. It answers to calling. You've got to remember why you started, especially on the days when nothing seems to move. Because the grind isn't glamorous, but it's necessary. The early mornings, the late nights, the repetition, they are the unseen ingredients of greatness. Most people want the reward, but they reject the routine. They crave the spotlight, but skip the struggle. But here's the truth. The spotlight only shines on those who stayed consistent in the shadows. So when you wake up tomorrow and that wave of resistance hits, don't negotiate with it, dominate it. Tell yourself, I move by discipline, not emotion. Let your consistency become your confidence. Let your habits become your armor. Because discipline is what keeps you going when the world goes silent. It's the bridge between your dreams and your destiny. The difference between almost winning and absolutely dominating is not talent, it's tenacity. Discipline is not about perfection, it's about persistence. Every time you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you're proving that your commitment is stronger than your comfort. And that right there is how champions are built. Not through hype, but through habits that never quit. Faith and fear cannot occupy the same space. One will always silence the other. You can't walk in victory while listening to the voice of fear. Fear will always whisper that you're not enough, that you're not ready, that you might fail. But faith speaks a different language. It declares, even if I can't see it yet, I still believe it's mine. Faith is not pretending the mountain doesn't exist. Faith is knowing the mountain has to move when you start climbing. Fear waits for certainty before acting, but faith acts first and creates certainty later. The moment you choose faith over fear, the entire trajectory of your life begins to change. Because faith doesn't look for evidence. It creates evidence through bold action. Every dream that seems impossible right now is waiting on one thing, your faith to activate it. God never gives you a vision that fits your current resources, because if you could do it on your own, you wouldn't need faith. The problem is, most people keep waiting to feel ready. They wait for the fear to disappear before they move. But that's not how faith works. Faith doesn't wait for fear to leave. It moves with it, knowing that courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to walk through it anyway. The people who rise to the top, the ones who change industries, the ones who leave legacies, all had one thing in common. They walked by faith when everyone else was waiting for proof. Faith is the bridge between where you are and where you're destined to be. It allows you to step into rooms you're not qualified for and still command respect. It lets you speak dreams into existence before anyone else believes them. When you live by faith, your words carry weight. You start speaking from a place of conviction, not convenience. You don't say, I hope it happens. You say, it's already done. That's the language of winners. They talk from the end result, not from the current reality. That's the hook faith talks like it's already finished, while fear keeps asking, what if it doesn't work? Faith says, what if it does? When you operate in faith, you stop letting temporary circumstances dictate permanent truths. You stop letting what you see determine what you believe. Because what you see is limited, it's temporary, but what you believe has no limits. Faith gives you vision in the dark. It helps you keep walking when the path isn't clear. It reminds you that delay doesn't mean denial. Just because you haven't received it yet doesn't mean it's not on the way. The waiting season is not wasted when faith is working. You've got to learn to stand firm when nothing seems to be moving, because faith isn't proven in comfort. It's proven in chaos. And yes, fear will still knock. It'll remind you of every past failure, every weakness, every reason why it might not work. But faith doesn't negotiate with fear. It silences it. It says, I'm not backing down because of what might happen. I'm moving forward because of what will happen. Faith keeps your eyes on the promise, not the problem. It teaches you that if God started it, He's strong enough to finish it. You don't have to know how it will happen. You just have to believe it will. Because faith is not about control. It's about confidence in the one who's in control. Every major breakthrough in history began with someone who believed before they saw. Every invention, every movement, every miracle was birthed by faith. That's the power you carry within you. Faith gives you the courage to step out of your comfort zone and into your calling. It makes you speak life where others speak doubt. It gives you the strength to take the first step when the staircase isn't visible. And every step you take in faith becomes a seed that multiplies. The more you move, the more momentum you gain, and the more your fear starts to fade. So if you're standing at the edge of uncertainty right now, stop waiting for the fear to vanish. Step out anyway. Move forward anyway. Speak it anyway. Because faith doesn't follow feelings. Feelings follow faith. You've got to believe that what's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. You've got to trust that every closed door was preparing you for the right one to open. When faith leads, fear loses its voice. And when you finally decide to live by faith, you don't just chase your dreams, you manifest them. Quitting is the easiest choice you'll ever make, but it's also the most expensive. Every time you quit, you delay your destiny. Every time you give up, you restart a process that was designed to refine you, not define you. Winners understand that the road to success isn't smooth. It's filled with resistance, detours, and delays. But they also understand something powerful. If they don't quit, they can't lose. The world belongs to the ones who refuse to stop. The truth is, evolution happens in motion. Every time you fall and get back up, you don't return to where you were. You rise higher, stronger, sharper. The act of standing up again transforms you into a new version of yourself. That's why you can't afford to quit. You're not just chasing a goal, you're becoming the person capable of achieving it. You've got to stop seeing failure as final. Failure is not the opposite of success, it's the ingredient of it. Every successful person you admire has a trail of mistakes behind them. What separates them from the rest isn't perfection, it's persistence. They evolved until they won. They didn't let temporary pain produce permanent paralysis. When life said, no, they said next. That's the mindset of a winner. One who knows that losing a battle doesn't mean losing the war. The moment you refuse to stop, the game changes, because persistence bends reality in your favor. The longer you stay in the game, the higher the chances the universe shifts to align with your will. That's the hook. It's not always the most talented who win. It's the most tenacious. Every delay, every rejection, every closed door is not the end. It's a redirection. Life doesn't block you to punish you. It blocks you to build you. The detours are part of your design. Sometimes God closes one path because he's protecting you from something smaller than what you were made for. But if you quit mid-journey, you'll never see the promise on the other side of perseverance. The process is uncomfortable because growth is uncomfortable. The seed doesn't become a tree without breaking open, and you won't reach your next level without some stretching. Every time you endure, you expand. Every time you keep moving through the pain, you increase your capacity to handle success when it comes. Most people think success is about speed, but it's really about stamina. Anybody can start fast, but few have the strength to stay when things get hard. That's why you've got to train your spirit to keep going when your feelings say stop. You can't let tiredness make decisions that faith should make. Winners rest, but they don't retire. They recover, but they don't retreat. Every time you push through the moment you thought you'd give up, you're writing the story that people will one day call your breakthrough. The power is not in how many times you fall. It's in how many times you rise. Here's the truth. Life will test your patience before it rewards your persistence. You'll be asked to keep showing up when results are invisible. You'll be asked to believe when the evidence says otherwise. But that's where evolution happens, in the tension between what is and what will be. Every test of perseverance is a question, do you really want this? And every time you answer with action, instead of excuses, you're proving you're ready for the next level. The reward is not just the win, it's who you become while waiting for it. The version of you that refuses to quit becomes untouchable, unshakable, and undeniable. So when 2026 comes and you're facing that one moment where giving up looks easier, remember this, your future self is begging you not to stop. The person you're becoming depends on your ability to persist. You're not just running toward victory, you're transforming into victory itself. You're evolving every time you endure. You're sharpening every time you survive. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the pain that once tried to break you was the very pressure that built your greatness. Because when you make up your mind that you will evolve until you win, quitting no longer exists in your vocabulary. You become unstoppable, undeniable, and unbreakable. Not because everything got easier, but because you became stronger. That's how legends are made. So here's my challenge to you. Make a vow to yourself, I will not stop until I win in 2026. Not when it's easy, not when it's fun, not when it's convenient, but until. Because until means no expiration date on your effort. It means if I fall, I get back up. If I fail, I learn. If I'm delayed, I keep pushing. Because every setback is just a setup for a greater comeback. And when you finally cross that line, when 2026 comes and you look back, you'll realize that every tear, every trial, every late night, every rejection was worth it. You'll see that you didn't just win a goal, you became a new version of yourself, one that doesn't quit, doesn't settle, and doesn't fear. So lift your head, square your shoulders, and declare it out loud. I will not stop until I win in 2026. Because when your conviction becomes louder than your excuses, the world has no choice but to make room for your victory.